What's going on, guys? It's your boy H-Dog, and I'm back again with another video. And shortly after, beating Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I recently did beat the first two episodes of the first DLC, waiting on that third one to drop patiently. But I kind of was wanting to talk about what I think I would want to see them do in the next game. I mean, we already know that the next Assassin's Creed is going to come out till possibly next year, and I'm gonna touch on those rumors and about the next game in a bit myself. There's a good amount I want to see for the better, because what Assassin's Creed has become now, it's become a light RPG. It started off extremely light, now it's going into the light RPG, and I feel as though there's a lot of potential, assuming that the next Assassin's Creed game sticks to the RPG like formula or RPG roguelike formula, that this game could end up being a killer hit. A game could end up giving Origins a run for its money, Odyssey a run for its money, and it's just like I touched on in my review. I think overall Origins is a better game, but and I'm gonna also have some spoilers as well going into this. I do think that by the end of the game, you pretty much know that you're tied to Atlantis, that your bloodline is tied to Atlantis. The reason why the cult wants to hunt you down is because you've been, as your mother told you, and I quote, a thorn in this cult's side for generations. So it kind of makes you think, how far does Alexios's and Cassandra's bloodline go? Like, how far back does it go, and how much further to the present does it lead up to? And I feel as though when it comes to the next game, and Assassin's Creed has been known to do this for a while, like, you would have potential to where you could easily try to pick up on who is his or her ancestor and who is their current descendant, or most recent historically accurate descendant. Really going as far back as really ever since Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Ever since then, we haven't really played as a more closer relative to a certain assassin or ancestor. Now these past two games, I know I could have sworn in, as far as Origins go, Montreal did say that they wanted to make a trilogy with Bayek or an Origin trilogy. That could still be in the cards, as you could have Montreal make a Bayek trilogy while Quebec makes these different Assassin's Creed games set in different times. Maybe we can get a sequel with a sequel to Odyssey, where it's a follow-up between Odyssey, because especially in this DLC that I've been playing through, you have a son in the DLC, and like I said, spoilers if you're watching this. If you don't want to get spoiled, turn away. But like I said, he has a son, so I feel as though you gotta have something with him in the future, because if you don't, I feel like that would be a missed opportunity in of itself. And as far as the fate of Atlantis goes, that DLC should have been the main game. It's tied to you as a character, it's tied to the story. I don't understand why it wasn't in the main game. Now, when it comes to the next Assassin's Creed, like I said, we know about it's supposed to release in 2020. along with recent reports of Ubisoft saying that they plan on releasing 3 to 4 games between April 2019 and March 2020. And recent rumors that make the rounds via Reddit. I mean, apparently it didn't gain much traction, because if it was anything to go by, I think everybody and their brother would have been on this. I would have been covering this. But apparently that wasn't the case, probably because it may have been debunked. It wasn't just a leaked image. And the image I can question, because Assassin's Creed Adder, like, to me, Assassin's Creed Adder, like, to me, that don't even make any sense, because you're named after British steak. But the other tidbits of information that went with the leak was they'll be bringing old features back from previous games, even one mentioning about returning the game's original combat to the series, which at this point that does not make any sense, because if you're gonna bring back how the game was originally, then what's the point of doing this huge overhaul of a drastic change to the series, if years later you're just gonna revert back to it? Which is why I would advise people to take those rumors with a grain of salt. I'm taking them with a grain of salt, because yeah, that's strike one, because I don't know why they do that. Another is the rumor that the game would release in March 2020. Now, be that as it may, Assassin's Creed, a mainline Creed game, has never, to my knowledge, released in March of any given release year. Not saying it will never happen, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Far Cry used to come out in the fall until Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 came out in the spring of last year. So it's a slight possibility of that being true, but if that's the case, we're gonna need to see some shit before March 2020, believe me. Assuming that the game would release in March 2020, we would have to at least have some more accurate leaks than this, either from Kotaku, which has been notable for leaking the games, or at least a code name of the next game, or possibly a keychain, like with Odyssey. That's how Odyssey was leaked, through a damn keychain. All I'm saying is, if the next game is if it's gonna come out in March 2020, we would have to see something about it. I would probably say, I wouldn't be surprised, like, assuming if it was to get announced, maybe E3 2019, we get like a teaser of it, or an official announcement in a perfect world, no leaks whatsoever about it. But here's the thing, Assassin's Creed has always leaked itself before its official release, and on top of that, the year it leaks, the year it releases. So that's another reason why I don't think we may not. That's another reason why I may not believe that rumor, because leaks would have to come out this year in order for the next game to come out in March. And God forbid they do a Far Cry New Dawn situation, where you announce the game at the Game Awards a mere 2 months before the game's release, and throw caution to the wind like that. Like they do something like that, that's like, don't get me wrong, the past 2 games have made a lot of money, but that's throwing caution to the wind. Like, expecting people to get hyped for a game within 2 or 3 months is extremely short notice. But it's not that bad for us, the gamer, because we get a new game. So yeah. But as far as those leaks go, all in all, I'm gonna take it with a big pinch of salt until we have more accurate information, like a code name, a screenshot image or something, just a tidbit of information, and then I'll make my decision whether or not to believe it. But whatever. But certain things I want to see in the next game. I want to see deeper RPG mechanics, like really deep RPG mechanics. Possibly, I would say something like choose your own class type of thing, where if alright, if you see you can go into the skill tree, right, and you got 3 different set of skills. You got warrior, assassin, and hunter. Let's say you could choose one of those to be a class. That would be pretty dope. That would, you could choose your own class, type of, I ain't gonna say type of backstory, but I would say better romance options. And another spoiler, but how they set everything up between you and the character Nema. I'm not sure if it's different if you play as Cassandra. But when you play as Alexios and you romance Nema, who is Darius' daughter, it felt that when I seen that, I'm like, yes to that whole thing, because it was that one thing that was missing in the base game of Assassin's Creed Odyssey: character development. It was like really within the exception of one, Roxana, because I feel like Roxana's story arc during that whole side quest was developed really well. She was developed really well as a character, and I think if they had at least kept the same energy with Roxana as with other romanceable characters in the game, then I think the romance would at least been about as good as Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean, I think it's good, but some people think it's trash. But anyway, I digress. If they just made, like, the romancing in that DLC was spot on. It was spot on character development. I had an emotional attachment to that character. If they had something like that, if they have something like that in the next game with any romanceable character in the game, like, I want it to be hard for me to choose who I'm gonna be with in the end, who I'm gonna be with in the long run. Like, make a difficult decision type of shit, like in Mass Effect, where choosing one over all was a hard choice. Choose which one of these chicks I'm gonna end up being with in the long haul. Same as in Witcher 3. The toughest choice I ever made was between Yennefer and Trish. Like, arguably the toughest choice when it came to romanceable characters. I do think that in terms of combat, I don't expect it to change. It's still probably be about as smooth and fluid as it is. Level scaling be probably the same. I wouldn't mind a bit more difficulty, just a smidget more difficulty. And here's the thing: I feel as though since everything is level gated, since certain areas are level gated, since enemies are level gated, I feel like there is no need to have a difficulty option. Normal, easy, hard, or hard. Just remove all that. Remove it all and just have something to where it's like a natural difficulty. Where if you got anywhere things, enemies, animals, anything, bosses are naturally difficult. Where you look at their level or you see a glowing skull over their head, you know you're gonna get mopped. And the difficulty setting is kind of uncalled for at that point. I feel as though without it, it would still be difficult. It would still be about as difficult. Offer the same type of difficult challenge. Another thing is the loot. I feel it's like if they're not gonna get the loot right, because I can't stand it that a legendary item can be underpowered, can be less powerful than an uncommon item, or an item that's like level 48 and my legendary is a 50. How, Sway? Like my solution to that is just remove all that. If you can't fix that, just remove it. Just have it stat based, to where you can look at it and say, okay, this is obviously better for me than this, without calling it epic, rare, whatever you want to call it. Let's see. I'm trying to think of things I'd want to see in the next game. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a deep open world. I still would like, assuming if Montreal is working on the next Assassin's Creed and it's coming out in 2020. If it is coming out in 2020, then they're already making the game. It's in development. But I do digress. I think that's a fall 2020 game. Damn, I really can't think of nothing else I'd want to see, because these past two games have been great. Oh, and another thing, Outposts. One more thing, Outposts. When it comes to Outposts, I've been tolerating them for the past couple games. That I can't take them. I know I can't take them over, because the story don't revolve around it. That's fine. The story don't revolve around it. But if you keep it that way, where the story don't revolve around it, I mean, okay, that's fine. But the outposts themselves are just bearable. Like, if they're in the next game, make them at least eradication areas. Ideally, I would want to be able to take them over. And since if it's going to take more and more steps into the RPG territory, make it to where I can choose to give it back to the people, give it to an enemy faction, like make it an evil choice, or make it a good choice, give it to the good guys, whatever. Or even if, let's say, I could choose to play as a Templar or Assassin, you know what I'm saying? That would also be dope as well. Because that way you could possibly have a bit more replayability, like choosing who you want to support with your choices and actions, whether, be evil purposes being for the, Predator Templars, or for the Proto Assassins, you know what I'm saying, at that time. But yeah, like if they fix up the outposts, right? If they have better romancing in the game. Oh, and another thing I just thought about it, the conquest system, the war system, whatever you want to call it. I love the freaking conquest battles, dude. They were amazing. If that system had been in a game like Assassin's Creed 3, that would have been a masterpiece. Because knowing, and I'm starting to think about more shit as I'm talking, and knowing having that kind of conquest system during that time period would be pretty dope. And since it's a RPG, I was thinking, like, let's say when you win, and I think they need to fix it to where if you win a certain nation, right? If you win a certain nation for whatever side you're supporting, it should stay that way for that nation. And let's say there's like a mini quest line that resolves by the end you end up winning the war for that particular faction. You know what I'm saying? During the, like, let's say if it really mattered if you sided with the Spartans or Athenians during this time period, be fire. Shit, what else was I thinking? I was thinking maybe possibly having more options. Like, now, like, I know that Leak talked about bringing back the old Assassin's Creed combat. Here's the thing, right? If they bring it back, the only way I would accept it is if they do something like where you have an option. Like, let's say, when you start the game, you could choose what type of playstyle you want. Like, if you want to play the game with the hood on or hood off, that type of shit. or if they do something like that, where you could choose what type of combat you want to use, like older Assassin's Creed combat, or the new combat. Cause I ain't gonna lie, if they gave me that option where I could choose which type of combat system I can play in, I would definitely give the older games combat a try in this type of RPG set. It would be pretty cool. It would be pretty cool, even though it can still be numbers based. It can still be numbers based. You know what I'm saying? Still at the time your attacks, but I feel as though in that respect, it would still be kind of cool to do something like that. But anywho, I've been ranting and rambling and spitballing for 20 minutes now. Let me know what you guys think about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you like to see in the next game? And tell me what else you would like to see in the next game besides some things I want to see. Do we match up on certain things? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to stay updated on discussion videos like this. And I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Peace.